people don't continue to do the exercises after the motivation's gone.
Yeah.
Like you gotta keep doing it even when you don't feel like it.
Welcome to Healthier Me, a show that highlights the health journey of everyday individuals in Saginaw who have chosen to take the steps to be well. Anthony Brown joins me in the studio today. His health journey began in middle school when he started doing push-ups every other night. He then lifted his first set of weights in high school and has never looked back. Over the years, Anthony's transformation has been fueled by intense discipline until a devastating moment triggered a newfound passion that resulted in bodybuilding. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
How's everything going?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Never saw this coming.
Never saw this coming.
I appreciate it though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're here. You have so much to unpack, and I want to dive into your story. But before we do, I want to take a look at this photo, which is completely amazing. I love it. I love the imagery, your pose. Talk about that moment on stage right there.
That was the beginning of my individual routine. I had worked on that for weeks. Just the opening part of it, you have to do like a T-walk. So, yeah, it's one of my favorite photos. But I look at it and I still see opportunity to grow and improve. As always that. But yeah, I was very grateful and fortunate to be a part of that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what show was that? Because you are in bodybuilding. Talk about the category and what show that was.
So this category here is classic physique. I normally compete in men's physique, which they only really judge the upper body. In this class, which is like the step up from men's physique, I was trying to earn a pro card here. They judge your legs. They still judge symmetry. They want you to be a little bit bigger than men's physique. So yeah, you got this category, then you got bodybuilding. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. I mean, it takes a lot of confidence to step on stage, first off, in like little shorts like that.
Absolutely.
And
excuse me.
Like, talk about that, building up that confidence to just stand there in front of thousands of people or hundreds of people. I don't know how many people were there, but
more than I thought I would get in front of like that. That's for sure. Yeah, this whole bodybuilding journey took me outside of my comfort zone, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's you have to get in a different space. You just have to like lock in. You know what you're there for. You know your purpose. You gotta know what your priority is. Put on the best show possible and hope that the judges like what you present, and go from there. But yeah, those shorts. Those shorts were definitely. I had to really build my confidence up to get it. Even at home, I would put them on, but like, man, am I really doing this? You know what I mean? But yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So I want to ask you, what does being healthy mean to you?
It means everything to me. A lot of times I get asked, when I'm working and stuff about my physique, which is awkward because it still feels awkward when people ask that. But they always ask, well, how do you make time? And I just tell people, you have to make your health a priority. If your health isn't your priority, then it becomes a problem. I think when you're in good shape, it allows you to do everything outside of the gym at a higher level, your job, dealing with family, and everything. And not only from a physical aspect, but from a mental standpoint too.
Yeah.
So I think you have to have both.
I like what you just said. Like going to the gym, working on yourself, and it improves everything outside of it. So what is one thing that it improved for you outside, working out? What did it improve on the outside?
Well, from my job standpoint, my job's physical.
Okay.
I deliver pop all day, and it's a lot of moving stuff, lifting all day, every day. So, and at the rate that I do it, I think that without the gym, I probably wouldn't be able to do it at the rate that I do it. So that helps. And then, the weightlifting journey also in high school, it made me feel good. It made me feel like I was a better athlete. It made me feel like I was improving myself. And I just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you live in Saginaw now, but you were actually born in Alabama.
Yeah.
So what was that environment like growing up for you? All I'm thinking is like country, but I've never been to Alabama.
Well, the part I grew up in was country. I grew up in a little town called Livingston, Alabama, in Sumter County, which is about 45 minutes to an hour south of Tuscaloosa. I moved here when I was 11 years old. My mom, at that point, when I was 11, decided to, get our life together. I had been adopted for about 7 years, 2 years with an uncle and their family, and then 5 years with my grandmother. So it was myself, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters.
Raised by your grandmother.
Raised by my grandmother.
Okay.
So I always tell people, excuse me for a second. My grandmother was an angel. My grandmother had birthed 16 of her own kids. And then when the system was about to take us, she stepped in and stopped that. So she brought in 5 more kids. And at that point, I was 6 years old. So I was 6. My sister was 5. My brother was 4. And then there was a set of twins that were 2 years old.
So you were the oldest. You're the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, after that, she raised her kids. Everybody was out on their own, living a decent life. And then she brought us in and raised us like we were hers. And she took care of us. Out of all those 5 years, I don't think there was a day that I remember that she never got up before dawn and cooked breakfast. It was a cooked meal every day. Yeah, she was definitely an angel. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. We actually know each other from the gym, so I've been knowing you for a couple of years, and I did not know that. So that is very significant. Wow.
I
don't expect you to talk about things like that, but that is.
Yes, she was. Not only that, one more thing to add to that story. My grandfather was living during the time that she had us. He had a couple heart attacks, stroke. He had got to the point where he wasn't getting around as well, couldn't talk that well. So she not only took care of us, but him too. And that's rare nowadays. So, yeah.
Such a servant, household mentality, mindset that she carried.
For sure, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she didn't play no games, though. She believed in tough love and discipline for sure. But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Alabama is your roots, and then you come to Saginaw at the age of 11, and you're now with your mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about that journey now being in Saginaw. I know you shared in middle school. You met a man named Mr. Jones.
Yep. I went to Central Junior High at the time. I was on there for about a year and a half, but for whatever reason, I was like, I wanted to have big arms. And Mr. Jones said, hey, this is what you do. Start doing push-ups every other night for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, do them every night. So I started doing it. And then, so one night I remember we was playing around, me and my brothers, wrestling. And I had my shirt off. My mom was like, she identified that my body had been changing. And I think it was because of that.
Just doing push-ups.
Because that's all I knew at the time. I was between 11 and 13 years old. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So the push-ups kind of built my foundation, I would say. And I sometimes look back on my life to this point, and I say my journey started way back then. I didn't know it was going to lead us to this point. Even sitting here in front of you, you just never know. Life is a real journey. Yeah. So, yeah.
And that's what Be Well Saginaw, this entire podcast, is all about the journey.
Yeah.
We've been having conversations with different people with different backgrounds. Eating disorders. Some individuals have had surgery, fitness. It looks different for everybody. But I think it's so important that we share these stories because there's somebody out there that's going to need to hear it.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm inspired by your journey too.
I appreciate you.
So doing push-ups, I laughed about it because my daughter's in middle school now, and she's like, "Oh, look at my abs!" She's trying to find
that's
this.
Cool.
You don't have a 6-pack,
yeah.
but
don't kill her.
But it wasn't about a 6-pack for you. It was arms. What was it about the arms?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I remember. The only thing I can think of is watching a lot of wrestling because I believe wrestling was real. I have this debate with my mom. You know, she's like, boy, that ain't real. They faking all this and that. And then, you know, they had Hulk Hogan. He was always talking about python arms and all that. So I don't know if that unconsciously attached to me somewhere.
Okay.
But, yeah, I used to have those debates. My mom was swerving down. I was like, nope, it's real, mama. So
That's exactly what I thought about the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about arms. I was like, why did he want
Yeah.
massive arms?
Yeah.
But that's all I could think about was the Hulk.
Yep.
Okay, so Mr. Jones inspired you to do push-ups, and
Yep.
you started doing that.
Yeah, I did. And I'm glad because it changed my life. I didn't know it was going to change it to this point. But yeah, I'm very blessed, even throughout some of the trials I've been through to get to this point. But everything happens for a reason. You just gotta be strong. I have my faith, be prayerful, and persevere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So after middle school, were you in any sports at that point in middle school, or it was just like
No, you know, I wanted to play football at Central. I remember going to what I thought it was a scheduled practice. Nobody was there. I never went back. So then when I went to Saginaw High, I played freshman as a football player as a freshman, and I wrestled. But I really got into the weights at that time as a freshman in high school. And again, you know, we had to do it anyways for school, but I liked it. Actually, I loved it. And so even in high school, 3 years of high school, lunchtime, I spent, I think, every lunch hour over the 3 years in the weight room.
Wow.
I think I went to the cafeteria maybe 3 times. I might be pushing it out of all my years in high school.
That is such dedication.
Yeah.
You don't find kids doing that.
No, I just wanted to be great at whatever I did. You know what I mean? I just feel like if you're gonna participate in something, no matter what it is, you want to try to be great at it or as good as you can be at that point. And weightlifting changed that for me. Yeah. And it's weird. And I know it's gonna sound weird for me saying this, like I'm not rich in life. I'm living a life, you know, I work every day and everything. But that changed my life though.
The weightlifting.
Yeah, the gym did because now I train folks. I get to witness people's journey, their transformation, and to me, that's honestly, it's a phenomenal feeling to be there.
I think you are rich. I think you just have to define what rich means to you or what success means to you. But it can look different for everybody.
Yep.
I am kind of curious though, given that you are a trainer and people out there who's listening and watching, is there a certain age that kids can start lifting weights? Because I do like I said, my daughter's in middle school. We do sometimes lift a 5 pound for her and things like that. But
I've done some research on that because I've had that question before. And 13ish, you can start. I mean, maybe even 12, but around 12 or 13, I think you can. Because I started it. I was 14, really, in a freshman in high school, so not far off. So, yeah, I think that's a safe age. Just got to make sure, you know, they're getting the right information on what they're doing and how they're doing it. They need to understand the process and what they're doing with each movement. That's important. Because even now, folks in the gym, they lift. They just lift. They don't really understand what they're working on and what different positions and all this and how it can change the impact of the exercises they're doing.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, like just as simple
Hand
lifting
movement,
it here.
overhand,
to go.
underhand.
Yeah, it's just all
that.
different.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty cool on what you're
Yeah.
talking about. So it sounds like around 13, maybe like after or once puberty
Yeah,
hits.
around that time, yep.
Yeah.
I think so. You know, I always say when people ask me stuff like that, even for like different exercises, I say this is how I would do it. Because I never try to throw shade on other trainers. I just say, hey, this is how I think I do it. This is what works for me. You can try different ways, but you got to find a way that works for you. Unless it's truly unsafe, then I'll step in and say that's wrong. But for the most part, this is my approach. This was work for me, and you can try it. You know, take it all. I think people should take advice, research it, and if it's right, try it. If it works, throw it out and try something different.
Yeah.
It's not that. I think we overthink it sometimes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So your athletic journey, middle school, push-ups, it transforms to weightlifting, you're wrestling. What happens afterward? Like, how did you keep that discipline and momentum going after high school?
Just that feeling, like the sense of accomplishment. Because even during the weightlifting time, I got into boxing when I was like probably 26. I did it off and on for 10 years. And I lifted, but not as much. But just to go back to your question, it's just that feeling, like feeling good. You felt good from a mental standpoint. Physically, it changed you. So yeah, and you know, as you get older, you understand that your health is important, and that's enough in itself. Because what people don't understand is like people don't continue to do the exercises after the motivation's gone.
Yeah.
Like you gotta keep doing it even when you don't feel like it. Like that's when the discipline. I think 80% or even 90% of the time, it's gotta be discipline. You get that sense of it's like impulse shopping. You see something you want it right then. Same thing with weightlifting. You're like, man, I gotta go do this. And then for a couple weeks you do it, and then you stop. But you gotta kick yourself in the butt, and that discipline gotta keep you going. And a lot of times, the times you don't want to go and you go and you do it and you're done, you have a sense of accomplishment and then you're glad you did it. Yep.
Agreed. It's kind of like that runner's high that people get
Yeah,
afterward.
which I would never get because I'm not running that.
You're not a runner. Don't like run. I agree. I'll sprint for a little bit and I'm like, okay, let me walk. Running,
I don't know where that high is. I'm not getting it, but respect to them folks.
But it is a certain high that you do get after working out, though.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, what was the spark for you when you decided to become a trainer?
It kind of hit me when I think it was 2017, 2018.
Oh, so that wasn't that long ago.
Nah, I mean, I've been working out for a while. Like, I was working for Fairlife Milk in Grand Rapids in Coopersville, and people would ask questions. I would work out in our gym. We had a gym on site too, and I don't know. I just was helping folks at the job, and then one day I was like, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing," you know. Like, and at that point, around 2017, 2018, I found that was my purpose. My purpose in my existence on Earth is to help people, and my plan is to do this until I leave this world. I get a lot of joy out of it. It's nice to see a person from start. I want to say start to finish because it should be a constant thing in your life. You should never stop doing it. It should be a part of your daily routine. So from the start to there, and watch the transformation, it's phenomenal. So I think for a trainer though, when you see your clients come in the gym when they're not scheduled to work out with you, and they do things on their own, that lets you know that their mindset's changing. Because some folks that work with a trainer, and you don't see them until they come back to the trainer. And it's the things that you have to do outside of the gym that are important, like your diet, and that's like 80% of it.
So how has your diet looked over the years? Because we're going to get into the bodybuilding again, but I mean, because that's another form of discipline. Like,
it's a small group. They say 1%ers do what we do as far as that goes. And, you know, it's an honor to be a part of that group because it is definitely challenging. But from a diet standpoint, I stay away from like a lot of sugars and all that stuff. I mean, I can have it on certain specific days, and even at that point I limit it. But nope, eat a lot of a nice fine balance of carbs, protein, and fats, stuff like that. But I'm not a nutrition person, so you know I do a lot of research on that. I've always had an idea what to eat, because even in high school as a wrestler, you had to cut weight to make your weight class, and that's why I say my journey started back then. Even back then, I think God, again, my faith was preparing me for this part of my life, because being a 14, 15-year-old in high school and you can't eat because you got to cut weight, and then all your peers are eating, you know, M&Ms and hot fries and all this, and here you are in the corner chewing gum. Because for whatever reason, instead of chew gum, it burn calories. You've been in the corner chewing the hell out of that gum thinking you burning calories. But
That is so funny.
But yeah, no, even during the off season, I'm just officially taking my first off season since I started doing this a couple years ago, and I'm really mindful of what I eat because I want to stay right. They say if stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That's a true mindset, I think.
So much is kind of coming to my head. There's a bodybuilder woman that I follow on Instagram, and I swear she just stays like cut the entire year, and I'm just like, how do you do it?
It's a diet.
Yeah,
it's a diet, and just to like cover everything, it's about consistency. It's consistency in your training and your diet. Again, like I said, it's 80% of it is that diet. 20% of it is the gym.
that's the gym.
So the most, because you figure you go to the gym for a couple of hours, you got 20 plus hours to do whatever to make the right or wrong decisions about what you put in your body. You just got to be smart about it. And everybody's not trying to be a bodybuilder. That's why I tell people, just adjust your diet. It's all about moderation. And once you control that, figure out what your vice is. Like what hurts your diet the most. And started like,
What hurts mine? French fries.
Yeah. Yeah. They are good though. But so just adjust how much you eat over time. You might not even want them no more.
Yeah.
Because once you start working out and start getting results, it becomes an addiction for most people, and you don't want to destroy that workout over one bad choice. That one bad moment could kill a good workout. Just that one bad moment. If you can just survive that moment and say, I'm not going to eat a large fry, maybe I eat a small fry today. Yeah. That's a small step. To me, that's a win to go from a large fry to a small fry. You smile.
You make it, no, because that is so true. And I'm like, I could have made so many better decisions and got the small fry, but
I was joking with somebody not too long ago, and this is the truth. He was talking about like they make these thin Oreos, and people go buy them. What difference does it make? You don't eat the whole pack, you might as well buy the regular Oreos. So you still gotta stay away from that. Another small tip is when you go shopping, don't go shopping hungry. When you go shopping when you're hungry, you make some terrible decisions. You go down to cookie aisle, the candy aisle, anything you can throw in your mouth quick. You be in that bag in the car on your way home, stuff like that.
You are so right. I try to do the online shopping, and that kind of saves me because then I'm not like looking for the processed stuff. I can just get like what I need. So those are some really great tips, and I hope you guys are writing that down as you're listening to that. So to go back, you become a trainer around 2017. You make that decision and say, this is something that I want to do. It was a feel-good moment.
I was living back and forth between Grand Rapids and here. When I made that decision, I started making flyers, trying to figure out, what title I would be going under. So I came up with Under Construction Fitness, and then this slogan was, it was trust the process. I went to trust in the process. I'm a real huge fan of a football coach by the name of Nick Saban, and everything is process driven and paying attention to details. And I've always believed in that, and it kind of inspired me on that part of it, because it is a process. I mean, you got to get from one step to the next. The food is a part of the process. All that.
So I'm kind of curious too. I know you talk about like the eating journey and things like that. Did you rely on other resources to help you?
Oh yeah.
And what did that look like?
Especially when it came to when I did my first show in 2022. Yeah. I had a lady by the name of Michelle help me, and she laid out my nutrition plan on what I should be eating on a daily basis, 6 meals a day. So I do rely on that. I do my own research about what's what. I read a lot of every time I go to the store now, I read labels. It's like it's natural. Like just grab it and just flip it over. Yeah. I, as a trainer, and that's to anybody out there, always be a student. I'll be a student till the day I die, because once you close your mind and say I'm an expert, it's a problem. Because you got gurus and you got great people, and even those folks are still learning, because there's so many different ways you can change things. So, I reach out, I ask questions, talk to different folks, because it's not a cookie cutter. Like everybody's nutrition plan is not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So,
and I like that you said be a student because there was a friend of mine. She does training or coaching in another industry, but I'm like, even the coach needs a coach.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I like what you just said.
That was a process in one of my old jobs. It was train the trainer. That type of mindset. Because everybody need a lesson here and there. So, yeah.
So when you decided to join or to become a bodybuilder, you kind of went through a moment and you went through a divorce. So how did that breakdown fuel you to become a competitor?
Well, divorces are very hard, obviously. It's a lot of negative energy, you know. I will say this before I go on with that story. My ex-wife used to tell me that, I think you could do that. And I used to always have a thing on my feet. I hate my feet. I'm like, I'm not getting up there. And not only that, and then I'm going to be half naked in front of all these people. I'm not doing it. Yeah. So anyways, I just want to give her some credit because I don't think I do enough of that. Even though we're not together, you still got to give credit where credit is due. But yeah, so it was a lot of pain at that time. I was still going to the gym working out, and it's just trying to focus on working out and all the negative stuff, trying to find a place to stay and all that, because I just stayed in my brother's basement. I stayed in my brother's basement, thank God for my brother, for probably almost 6 months, I think. So, one day I just said, I'm going to do a show. My ex-wife had told me I could do it, but a friend of mine, Abraham, I met him years back at the gym when I was working out. He said, hey, have you ever done a show? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm not going to say what I said. All I said, I just do it because I, want to feel good and be healthy. So it kind of planted another seed on that. And then when this whole thing with the divorce came along, I decided to do it. And when I decided to do it at that point, it changed everything. Every workout had a different meaning because there was an ultimate goal at the end. All of that negative energy, from the divorce, I was trying to turn this something positive. And I'm enjoying this journey, don't get me wrong, but, going through that was hard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a hell of a way to find out where you want to be in life, but you just never know.
Yeah.
And it took me there, so.
I know we all wish that life could just be on the up and up and things don't happen. But I remember listening to something on social media and it was talking about how life is kind of like the heartbeat. It kind of goes up and down and that's the only way we can survive. Yeah. If it was straight, flatline, we'd be dead. Yeah. So, it's unfortunate that moment had to happen for you, but now to see this come out of it, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful transformation.
I appreciate it.
Who you've been able to inspire since.
Inspiration, however you want to use that word. I know, I post videos now, and I always talk about faith. I'm gonna have that. I'll never be ashamed of that. But when I talk to God or I tell people, I ask him to allow me to inspire, but I also ask him to allow me to be inspired because I think it's a two-way street. Inspiration goes both ways. Sometimes in the gym, we look at the guy that's in shape as inspiration. What about the person that's a little overweight and they finally make the decision to say, enough's enough? Yeah. That's inspiration right there too. So, and I don't think sometimes those folks realize that they are an inspiration. And they are though. Because you really had enough when you look at yourself and say, enough's enough, I got to change. That takes a lot to look at yourself and say, something's got to change. Yeah. And then actually follow through with it. Yeah. So.
Yes. No, that is so true. It's so true to look in the mirror and just be like, okay, I'm done. Yep. I'm done looking like this. Because people probably have told you over the years, you need to change something, but it's really until you decide. Yeah.
You have to. And you have to do it for you. First and foremost, it has to be for you. If it's for any other reason, you're going to fail at it. And, because you got to hold yourself accountable. Because if you're doing it for somebody else, are they going to be there to hold you accountable? No. That person that you're looking at in the mirror has to do that for you. So, yeah.
Yes. So much encouragement in this conversation. I want to go to the competition because I think sometimes when people look at that, it's like, oh, he just lifted a bunch of weight and we're talking about cutting. So how much did you have to lose in order to look like that on stage? Like how much weight or?
I usually start out at about between 173 and 175 is my beginning weight, and I'm usually down. I've been down to like 154.
Okay.
My last show I was actually heavier than I've been, but I added muscle, so my body fat was still around the same. But yeah, 12 one show I lost 18 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. But you have to be in a calorie deficit. You have to do your cardio. You have to eat the right meals. Again, it's a diet. None of that's possible without the diet. You can't. You see on social media, you see these quotes and stuff say you can't out-train a bad diet. You cannot. You can lift all day long, and your body has a really slow transformation, especially if you're on a terrible diet. So you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you talked about like 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think that, we got to have these 3 big meals.
Yeah.
I mean, I know diet looks different for everybody, but could you speak to that?
Yeah.
The 6 meals, is it better? Should we be eating 3 meals? What do
I
you
think that, again, like you said, it's different for everybody. When I just give a generalization to people of how to deal with calories on a daily basis, so I think I was at like 2,500 calories or less a day during those 6 meals. So I just say you take 2,500 calories, divide it up in the 6 meals, and that'll give you an average per meal. You got to have a balance of your fats, your proteins, and your carbs. And go at that point. So I take 2,500 calories. I can divide it up over 6 meals, which is smaller meals, and you don't feel as full. Some people say, I want to feel full. That's too much. So don't eat 3 meals.
Yeah.
Spread them out, right? And you eat same amount of calories, but you eat more. So, yeah, I don't believe in because a lot of people when they talk about diet, they say, well, I'm not eating, so I'm gonna lose weight. It's wrong.
I've had those conversations with people and they're like, I'm just starving myself. Like, no, please don't.
Me and Abraham and other people talk about it all the time, and I always say too that can you drive your car anywhere when it's on E? And you can't. So workouts, it requires food, especially your carbs. That's your gasoline. That's your fuel. You have to have energy to burn energy.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I like that. What's that? A metaphor, kind of? Yeah. You need it as gasoline.
You can't drive to Detroit on an empty tank of gas. You cannot. So.
And you cannot work out on an empty stomach. You need your carbs to fuel yourself.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So for the person out there who is considering doing a competition, what piece of advice would you give them?
Man.
I know you gave them so much advice in this conversation.
Yeah, just do your research. Abraham, bring him up because, well, I've been around him for a while, but he told me when I did my first show, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it because it's that much. You got to understand that there's a lot of loneliness in the journey to the stage. You work out in the gym, but everybody don't have that same goal, so you kind of separate yourself from that. You don't go out with friends and eat. You cook everything at home for the most part, so all your meals are home cooked. You sleep and rest more, and you almost just like isolate yourself and shut the outside world out because you have to. You can't do a lot of things with family because they're on a different journey.
Yeah, and sometimes it's always centered around food.
It is, especially when you go to the store. You want to buy something healthy, they don't, but you got to know that, you have a goal. So once you do your research and understand that, and I would tell people too that I always hear people say, well, I want to do it just for the experience. I call it BS. I mean, to me, and to each his own, but I will always say, if you're going to train for something, that's anything, you train for first place. You train for first. I'm not saying I'm not going to do all that, especially this, isolating yourself from the world and to say I just want to experience.
Yeah.
It's too much time and money invested, a lot of sacrifice. And then if you want to change gears and go for females, it's even more expensive. A lot more goes into females part of the competition than for us, but at the end of the day, the common thing is isolation, focus, completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And like what's coming up, I'm just thinking about like even sports because, you know, you look at a Kobe Bryant, we look at those greats who competed, but they were also competing as a team.
Yeah.
And with bodybuilding, there is no team,
Yeah.
really. It's just you.
Yeah. Well, like I would say, yeah, for me in the bodybuilding world, I've always kind of like, I haven't had a coach. Abe has always given me advice and stuff like that. I'm not going to take any credit away from that. But to your point with Kobe, and for bodybuilders, those that have coaches, it does take a team to build a one great individual. Like, you get on stage by yourself, but what happens before you get on stage? You know, people motivating you, people, you know, supporting you, even words of encouragement, coaches that, you know, want to make sure you train like you're supposed to if you have a coach. But if you do it alone, though, it can be done alone, but it's challenging, though. Yeah. So, but it does take a team to build a strong individual, though. That's in anything you do.
So will you actually get a coach or a trainer? I know you are a trainer.
Yeah.
But is that something that...
Yeah, I'm considering it, though, because even I started this when I was 45, late in life. Right, and I'm
late in life.
Yeah,
You're just getting started.
Well, that's why I look at it like. But I also look at it as the time that I started was the time that I was supposed to start it. There's a time and place for everything. So I'm 47 now, and I want to keep doing this. Yeah. And yeah, I am considering reaching out and getting some help. Yeah, and you know, I like to feel like I've done this on my own. It's a sense of accomplishment, but I also understand too, though, we all need help at some point. And again, that's when you got to look at yourself and say, I can't do this by myself. Yeah. So, but yeah.
I just have to point out because that's a 45-year-old body, 45, 46-year-old body. And there are some 20-year-olds who do not even look close to that. That is amazing. So I just want to say that.
I appreciate
that. That is amazing.
So if you don't mind me saying something real quick on that, I think with our society nowadays, there's not enough belief in delayed gratification. There's so many ways to like speed up the process now, and to each his own. But for the younger people, be patient. Like, we're living in this microwave society now where we want it right now. Just give yourself time to grow before you start doing all these different things and speeding up the process, because you do more harm to yourself long term trying to reach a short term goal. So delayed gratification is so important. You got to be patient. Yeah. I've been fortunate to do this with nothing, no performance enhancement drugs, none of that stuff. It's consistency is the main thing, that discipline, knowing that you got to do it and getting up and doing it, even when you don't want to do it. So, yeah.
We need to like bottle up whatever you have and take that, because it's amazing to, you know, be able to be disciplined like that, because that is a whole nother level. Yeah, that is another level, and you work. And I think sometimes people's excuses are, well, I work, I don't have time in the day, but everybody get the same 24 hours.
I get up at between 1:15 and 1:30 every morning, and I work, and I usually try to get done and get to the gym about 1, get mine in, then I train folks. So my job is perfect for me, but I'm also blessed to be able to still make it happen for myself, and then, because my people are important to me too. Like, their journeys are very important, and when people choose you to train them, that's a special moment to me, because they're allowing you to help them, and also allowing you to serve your purpose. Yeah. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
What's next for you? What's next for Anthony Brown?
Another show. 26 weeks and 1 day away. May 3rd, Akron, Ohio. I want to attempt to get a second pro card in the classic physique category. Considering the feedback that I got from my pro debut was I need to consider moving, which I knew this when I first got my pro card. I just was determined to. I earned the pro card. I wanted a chance to compete as a pro and see. Yeah. And it was a phenomenal feeling. You know, you get to meet all these wonderful people. But yeah, to do more shows. Like, I'm in it. I love it. Yeah, hopefully May 3rd in Akron, Ohio, I'll be able to come home with a card.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate
Let
you.
them know how they can find you, follow you, train with you,
Yeah.
everything.
I have Facebook. I'm under Natty Pro Anthony Brown on Facebook, and then you can find my links to my Instagram page on there too. I have 2 Instagram pages. I have one for my clients and one for myself. So I put a lot of material out. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Or you can find me at Coops Ironworks on Bay Road in Saginaw. I'm there 6 days a week. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, listen, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was good.